burned out.
There are two kinds. One is infectious. This is an invasion from another organism, you're somebody's food or somebody's habitat. So that's a different matter that they need to be bombed out. But I feel only 25 to 30% of the world's ailments today are infectious in nature, rest is all chronic. That means people are on self-help, they're busy producing their own variety of disease. I think every year people are coming out with various variations of disease so that doctors will be baffled every day. So how does one manifest this? We must understand, every cell in human body is programmed for life and health. At the same time, the same individual cell is also programmed from death. When it's time, it will start dismantling the system in a certain way. So programming for life, well-being, health is also there, programming for death is also there. If you in any way create a wrong message, if your messaging is wrong, then some cells start working for your death. That's all disease is in a certain way. They're working towards dismantling of life because somehow they got that message. You're not sending out a clear message that I want to live healthy, I want to live well. That message is not there. Today if you're angry with somebody, when you're angry or resentful with somebody, you're not doing much to them, you're poisoning yourself. There is substantial medical evidence today to show you're literally chemically poisoning yourself. So when you yourself poison yourself, what is the message that the cellular structure in the body is supposed to get? The message goes across and even if 2% of them believe that you want to die because you're drinking poison, then they'll start working for that. Now conflicting different types of activities happening, one set of cells working for your well-being, another set working against you, manifests itself in many different ways. This is a simplistic way I'm putting it, but in a way this is what is happening. Wrong messaging is happening every day. Resentment, anger, fear, anxiety, these are all poisons that you drink, but you expect somebody else to die. Life does not work like that. If you drink, you die. So, because we do everything in installments today, we do death also in installments, that's called disease.
Right. Say we do death in installments. That's called disease. My man. Hey, Sada Guru gonna tell you what it is and what it ain't, doc. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. That's my guy. Alright, let's see what else we got. Let's put in mental disease. This is a 49-second video. I think we got enough time for 50 seconds.
Oftentimes people think that if I'm suffering from mental illness, then there's no hope for me. And this is just the way it is, and I need to stay stuck on my medications. But the newest and best neuroscience research actually shows that there is great hope. The brain can change, which means that you can change. 5 main components that help to trigger neuroplasticity, and those are newness, challenge,
What's up? You are now tuned into another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. You know it's MLK. Turn this down. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday today. So y'all give a shout out. Y'all say what's up, y'all. Alright, we got the kids in here from school. So, of course, we're going to all do this thing in unity together. I hope y'all enjoy. We just focusing today. Just focusing. So let's get this motivation started first and foremost. Alright, let's go.
you give your life a sense. If you, before you start walking through the day with no sense of life, the easiest thing would be you give your life a sense, meaning you give yourself a purpose. Nobody can tell you, hey, this is not the sense of life. This is not the purpose of life. It's not about what other people say. It's about what makes you wake up in the morning liking to wake up, liking, or what is fueling yourself that you wake up. What are you looking forward to do? For some people it is, I like to express myself on the stage. I like to go and build on my cars. I like to express myself in playing the piano. Some people, I like to take care of animals. I like to write books in order to share knowledge with the world. It's all fine. If this is their purpose, if this is the mission you have put upon yourself, which is fueling you, this is one way where I think it's already better than having no direction. But at the same time also, like you also said, in the beginning, everything is white, everything is pure. And then things become serious.
Yes, sir.
This is where also nowadays different teachings, different insights come from, calling, sometimes it's necessary to bring out the inner child, sometimes it's called. Bring out the joy, bring the lightfulness, the lightness.
Did you know that your bank account is a direct reflection of your beliefs, thoughts, and emotions about money?
Back. Yeah, why is the lightness gone? Because because life has become too heavy. Too heavy with possession, too heavy with obligations, too heavy with responsibilities. There are many different things that can make one's life become and feel heavy. So you want to become pure again? You want to become light again? Well, it's time to cut off some things and not add on. The adding on is what this world already is propagating. This is what many people are living in. The world of adding stuff up. Why? Because, like we said before, we don't feel enough. That's why we keep on adding. Also realizing right now, but when will I finally be full? Never. With this approach, never. Because you keep on looking for the answer on the outside. But this year, we have to change our internal view on the world. What do you personally want to see in the world?
Yes,
What do you think is missing in the world? If you could be the creator of this world and you see something is missing right now to make this world the place how you would like to see it and live in it, what would it be? More kindness? More understanding amongst people? Good. Then you are the one who starts with it. You are the one who's going to initiate this movement. The movement of more kindness towards the people, more work for the community, more understanding, more connection, whatever it is you think is missing, that's already the next purpose. So the next mission of this life maybe, or can be, it might be your job to create. It might be your privilege to create. Sometimes nowadays, people live this life, people have this body, people are able to speak, people are able to experience, but let's say they are still thinking about, let's say, committing suicide, for example. Happens. So you have an existence that has been given to you, yet you are not loving this existence, you are not appreciating this existence, you are the one who would like to end it. And then I just remind myself always again, how many beings are there that are simply not born? They wished to be born. They wished to have the chance that we have, being able to just sit here in this room having a conversation. And why can we do this? Because we have been gifted with the body, we have been gifted with the ability that we can develop throughout the lifetime when we grow up. So actually what we have, this life that has been given to us like a present, it's like a gift to cultivate, to take as good care of it as possible. And automatically by thinking like this means you need to love this one. You need to like it, because this is what carries you on this journey. Without this one, you can't do any of your dreams. You cannot fulfill any of your wishes, because this is the one who starts to manifest it. This year is the one who can see the things, is what can feel the things. But it's not the one, this one and this one is not enough to make it become real. To make it become real, we need action. We need the real effort and work that is being done by the human body.
Sorry about that, y'all.
Yes. And this is now exactly that relation. Why this hard and intensive training regimen together with what we call Buddhism, why those two merge together so good? Because in the martial arts, it's all about the practice. It's about doing. You want to do Chinese split? Well, it's not enough to dream about it. You want to kick high? It's not enough to imagine you can kick high. You want to kick high? There is a step-by-step instruction how to get there. You want to punch hard? There's a step-by-step instruction how to develop it. You want to condition your body? There's a step-by-step instruction how to do it. You want to have a balanced, solid, joyful life? There's a step-by-step instruction how to do it. This is where martial art and the ideology of living this life, why they merge so good together. Because the principles are the same. The principles how to develop it is the same. This is like that special part, why it has always been my emphasis in promoting movement first, the usage of the body first. Yes. And actually here in the UK, especially here in London, I mean, you are really lucky because you have two of the very, very famous Shaolin brothers here in the Shaolin Temple, UK. One of them, Shifu Yenze, and the other one is Shifu Yanlei. They are being regarded my master uncles, and they have also been here now since many, many years, and are exactly trying to also offer this to the people. We want to change the mind. We want that our life becomes better. But how do we do it? We need the action. We need the practice. And that one starts with the body.
Yes, sir.
Did you know that?
Y'all, hold on. Let me jump back over there. So, we just getting started for today, and our message, well, our focus today is focusing. Just getting focused. You know, let's watch one more 5-minute motivation, and we'll move on. For Monday, we'll keep it short. Keep it short. Hey, we watched that one already. Or else I'd watch it again. Let's go.
What's good, everybody? Weezy here, back with another video, and our focus this week is having a positive mindset. And you guys know I have my journal right here where I summarize what positivity means to me. So let's jump right in. So we all know that thinking positive doesn't come naturally, since our minds are hardwired on taking shortcuts and thinking negative. Now let's be clear. I'm not saying that everyone is walking around all doom and gloom, and I'm certainly not saying that everyone is the same. Some people are definitely more optimistic and more positive than others. But what many psychologists and just many people in general believe is that our brains default into the negative. So by large, we're hardwired to register and remember negative events more quickly and deeply than positive ones. For example, say a person has loved pets, more specifically dogs, their entire life and has had hundreds of amazing experiences with them. But that one day they've gotten bitten by a dog who they thought was friendly, and I could guarantee you that that one negative experience has outweighed all the positive ones prior to it. To continue, a positive affirmation is always encouraging and it builds our confidence to take on any task in the world. This also draws to law of attraction. When we think positive towards our actions, we then begin to see that all along the correct people, places, and opportunities has formed together like a jigsaw puzzle. It's all meant to be. We also want to be our own boss and create our own schedule, so why not put in a continuous effort to make it become a reality? Now, Tupac, one of the greatest messengers and one of my favorite musicians, once said, "Here's a message to the newborns that's waiting to breathe. If you believe, then you can achieve. Just look at me. Against all odds, though life is hard, we carry on. Living in the projects, broke with no lights on. To all the seeds that follow me, protect your essence. Born with less, but you're still precious. Smile for me now." Now, we all know what type of impact he has made on people's lives outside of music, so I'm not going to speak on that. But to conclude, begin to serve your 24 hours with thoughts of positivity and pay attention to what the universe unravels throughout your day. Now, I would like to share with you all 5 of my positive affirmations before you go on about your day. Number 1, I can, I will, end of story. When you set your mind to it, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. So what more is there to say? Number 2, I am in charge of how I feel today and I am choosing happiness. Sometimes you may feel like a slave to your own emotions. Don't. Remember, while you may not be able to control what goes on during your day, you can control how you react and how you feel. So in my J. Cole voice, choose wisely. Number 3, I will not compare myself to strangers on the internet. Social media can make you feel guilty when comparing your life to others' curated feeds. When this happens, just take a step back and repeat this affirmation. Number 4, when you really want it, you're unstoppable. Let go of things that you think you're supposed to do and instead focus on projects and goals that you really want to accomplish. After all, you'll find more joy in the process when you remind yourself of why you started in the first place, and then there's no stopping you from achievement. And lastly, number 5, I refuse to give up because I haven't tried all possible ways. Can't stop, won't stop is the motto here. So when you feel like you're at an impasse, remember, there's always another way forward. So to conclude, guys, thank you all for watching this episode on positivity, and I hope you all take positive actions throughout your week, and I will see y'all next week on Monday's Motivation. Peace.
Nah, I can't even change the video because I'm in the middle of this thing. So y'all just enjoy whatever comes next for a second. Nothing came next for a second. Now I ain't nowhere near done. Oh, there it is.
Part of spiritual development is to recognize the satanic tendencies that characterize you and to fully wrestle with them and to integrate them. That's the thing. It's not so much to cast them away, it's to transmute them. You know, and you can see the difference between people who've done that and people who haven't, at least to some degree, because people who haven't integrated the shadow at all are naive. And you can tell that when you look at them, and you can tell that when you talk to them. And because they're naive, they're often resentful as well because they get taken advantage of. And someone who's integrated that more, they're dangerous in the martial arts sort of way, which is they're dangerous, but they don't have to use it because their presence radiates implicit potential for havoc. And that's really necessary. It's one of the things that gives people self-respect.
If you're harmless, you're not virtuous. You're just harmless. You're like a rabbit. A rabbit isn't virtuous. It just can't do anything except get eaten. It's not virtuous. If you're a monster and you don't act monstrously, then you're virtuous. But you also have to be a monster. Well, you see this all the time. Harry Potter's like that too. It's like he's flawed, he's hurt, he's got evil in him. He can talk to snakes, man. He breaks rules all the time. All the time. He's not obedient at all. But, you know, he has a good reason for breaking the rules. And if he couldn't break the rules, him and his little clique of rule-breaking, you know, troublemakers, if they didn't break the rules, they wouldn't attain the highest goal. So it's very peculiar, but it's a very, 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 very common mythological notion. You know, the hero has to be a monster, but a controlled monster. Batman is like that, you know. I mean, it's everywhere. It's the story you always hear. If you're going to be a fighter, you have to want to win. And you have to want to hurt people. I mean, not for the sake of hurting them. That's what makes you different than an evil person. But you have to have that capacity. You have to develop that. And, you know, that's the step on the way to enlightenment, weirdly enough, because that isn't what people think. People have been fed this diet of pablum, rights and impulsive freedom for so long. There's just an absolute starvation for the other side of the story. There are no rights, technically speaking, without responsibilities. And all we've had for 60 years is a dialogue about rights. Well, that leaves a hole on the other side of the story. And it's a hole that's in people's hearts, essentially. Because responsibility, well, perhaps that's not more important than rights. Like I said, they're part and parcel of the same formula. But it's in responsibility that most people find the meaning that sustains them through life. It's not in happiness. It's not in impulsive pleasure. Those things blow away at the first ill wind. But to adopt the responsibility for your own well-being and to try to put your family together and to try to serve your community and to try to seek for eternal truths and to live them, that's the sort of thing that can ground you in your life enough so that you can withstand the difficulty of life. And when you tell people that, especially when you include yourself in the audience, let's say, and you're not finger waving from above, then everyone knows that it's true. There's been this attempt to identify masculine competence and power, let's say, but mostly competence with tyranny, and that's very, very hard on young men. It's also hard on young women, for that matter, but it's very helpful for people to hear that they should make themselves competent and dangerous and take their proper place in the world, because it's the alternative to being weak. And weak is not good. The people who shoot up the high schools, they're weak. They're weak. And life is a very difficult process, and you're not prepared for it unless you have the capacity to be dangerous.
All right, so we're going to stop there with our motivation, and we're going to get focused. How to get focused. Not funky. Don't get funky. We want to get focused. Hold up. Before we go to after school, let's look at what they got under the regular people. I knew they had some solder. Alright, let's go to her first.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout every week. Done.
I'm getting back on track with Factor. Fresh, never frozen meals at Parent Fresh.
Hi guys, welcome to Empowering and welcome to Motivation Monday. So in this Motivation Monday, I wanted to talk about an email that I received a little while ago, but I just remembered it now, so I wanted to talk about it. It is an email from someone that asked, how do you stay focused when you're extremely exhausted? And I really like that question because I have a lot of good techniques that I do in order to stay focused when I am extremely exhausted. So unfortunately, sometimes, we might not sleep right. Maybe we're parents and we have young ones that don't know the difference between night and day and they don't understand that we have to work. So sometimes we end up going to work extremely tired. I know, especially when I was flipping from nights to days, I would start my 12-hour shift sometimes on zero sleep. Absolute zero sleep. And I would get very, very nervous that I would make a mistake, which is a very legitimate fear. Right. So here are some things that I did and still do when I do find myself at work being just completely tired and depleted. So the first thing that I do is I drink a lot of water. A lot of people do not understand just how energizing water is, but one of the first signs of dehydration is feeling tired. So sometimes when I feel tired, what I do is I quickly drink about 2 cups of water and then I start walking. So actually that leads into the second thing that I do, which is moving. Moving is the most energetic thing you can do. Objects that are in motion will stay in motion. And that is very true because when we are tired, what we really want to do is just sit back or lay down and relax. But it is the worst thing to do when you're at work because you need to work. So yes, just stay moving and stay hydrated, and that will help you out. Even right there, that might be all you need. So the next thing that I would recommend is to make sure you have people double check you. You are never alone at work. And sometimes you just need to tell people, your coworkers, listen, I'm really tired. Does this look right to you? Can you just double check this for me? I do that all the time, guys. There's no harm in asking for help. We can't do this job by ourselves. We're all gonna need to help each other out. So even if you're asking silly questions, it's okay. You know, hey, can you take a double look at this? I'm just so tired, you know, my kid kept me up all night. There's nothing wrong with that. What I always think about is, do I want to ask somebody for help, or would I prefer making a mistake that could cause harm to somebody, which nobody wants to go there. So there's no harm, you're never alone, definitely ask for help. The third thing that I do, which I guess is sort of common sense, there's nothing wrong with drinking a cup of coffee. Sometimes coffee has the opposite effect. For some reason, I can only drink 1 cup. After that, it's more tiresome to my body. Maybe it just dehydrates me too much, I'm not sure. But also B vitamins. B6, B12 are awesome for energy, so those are great to have in your lunch bag on those days when you're just so tired. Also, another vitamin that I take for other reasons, but I also take it for energy, is FOT. FOT really does help me feel a lot better and help me focus a lot more. So that's just some things to consider. Look up some vitamins that are good for your body and also good for energy. It's good to have those just in case you need them, because when you least expect it, you might need it, and it's always just good to have. Another thing that I like, and I have the bottle right here, is turmeric pills. Turmeric pills help with inflammation. Inflammation is something that can take a lot of energy out of your body. So if I do see that I'm really tired, I will take a turmeric pill. It's not one of those things that gives me energy immediately. I usually take it in conjunction with something else. But I do think that it helps quite a bit. And there's so much good information on turmeric that it can't hurt anything for sure. The last thing that I want to mention is, during the shift, when you feel like every hour and minute and second is just slowly creeping by, just remind yourselves that 12 hours always ends. So no matter how long it feels, you will be driving home and you will be crawling into your bed very soon. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So whether that means that you need to call your husband and be like, listen, I'm so tired today, can you please do this and this so that it's a little bit easier for me to get home? You might need to make special arrangements for that, but it's worth it. We all have to work together for the betterment of the family, for the team. Sometimes I'll tell my husband, because we usually work out after I get home from work, I'm just tired today, I'm just gonna go straight to bed, and I do. So just get those solid hours of sleep in, and don't worry, when that shift is creeping by, it will come to an end. So I hope you guys liked all of those tips. I wanted to ask you a question. I've been thinking about uploading some personal videos to share more personal, the more personal side of me. Just for example, in the middle of March, I'm actually going to India, and I was thinking about maybe blogging, video blogging about my trip. So if that's something you would be interested in.
Not really.
Why LA women aren't going to the gym.
Is this your tennis instructor?
No, that's my mom.
No way.
I'm talking about attention, not even about something, just being attentive. In the yogic systems, we have what is called as dashavadanis, shatavadanis. What this means is, a man will do 10 things at the same time. Now, when you don't miss a thing, everybody thinks you're some kind of a superhuman being. We can give you very dynamic processes through which you can scale up your attention to a higher and higher level.
My question is, what means focus to you, and which way can we apply focus in our daily life? So what's your definition of focus?
Okay. There are many ways to describe this word. Instead of saying focus, if you use the word attention, would you agree that attention and focus are about the same thing? There is a little difference. There are nuances to it, but when you say focus, it's just like focusing a light on something, means only a focus is always a spot. Attention can be much more widespread. See, right now, if you have clear vision, I'm having problems seeing the young man because you kept him in darkness there in the hall. But if the hall was well lit, I don't have to focus myself to see the people who are sitting here. I just need attention. If I'm attentive, I will see all the people here the way they are. But now I get interested in this one young man, then I need focus. If I had only focus without the general attention about everything around me, indiscriminate attention I'm talking about, attention not even about something, just being attentive only because there is a certain level of attention and awareness within you, you even know that you exist. Otherwise, let's say in sleep, in your experience, neither the world exists nor you exist, all that's happened is there is no attention. Because there is no attention, there is no perception of any kind. So first thing is attention, that there is a general grasp of everything. Then there is a particular interest. Then we focus it down to that particular interest. So what is the purpose or what is the definition of focus? What is the use of focus? Where can focus get us? We are focusing on something only because our attention is not keen enough. If our attention was very keen, you would not need to focus on anything. In the yogic systems, we have what is called as dashavadanis, shatavadanis. What this means is, a man will do 10 things at the same time, another man will do 100 things at the same time. This is, he will articulate a particular musical raga, at the same time he will calculate a very complex arithmetic problem, at the same time he will write poetry, at the same time like this he will do 10 things or 100 things. There are people like this. You can either use that to just be a stage performer, or you can just use it in your life, you're an entrepreneur. It's very important, if you're walking on the street, you're able to see something that most other people cannot see. That is when you become a leader. Because you are able to see things others are yet to see. That is when you take up a leadership position, because essentially leadership means you're on a perch. Once you're on a perch, you must see better than others. So attention is that dimension which will put you on that perch. If your attention has to be very keen about everything, then you should stop discriminating in terms of, I like this person, I don't like this person, this is good, this is bad, this is nice, this is not nice, this is useful, this is not useful. If you do not make any kind of discrimination, you just work on your attention, not about being attentive about something, just being super attentive, not about anything. See, right now if you increase the voltage in this hall where you're sitting, when light comes on, light is not thinking in terms of, whom should I focus on? When light comes on, everything that is there in that room will be seen. This is important. This is a very important aspect of yogic process, is that we go on working on our attention, that we keep on keying up our attention to a higher and higher level, a higher and higher voltage and intensity. Now, we don't encourage focus, because focus means consolidate all that attention and put it on one person. Suppose you invested your entire focus on one spot and you found nothing worthwhile in that spot, what will you do at the end of your life? This is what is happening to most lives. Now, you just work on making your attention itself so keen that even if somebody focuses on something, they won't be that keen. If your attention is that keen, you won't miss a thing in this universe. Now, when you don't miss a thing, everybody thinks you're some kind of a superhuman being. No, 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 this is not about being superhuman. This is about realizing being human itself is super. So, if you cultivate your attention, there are… we can give you very… if realizing being human itself is super. So, if you cultivate your attention, there are… we can give you very dynamic processes through which you can scale up your attention to a higher and higher level. How clearly you see determines how successfully you walk this life, there's no question about it.
I've been saying that.
How much lack of clarity there is in you, that much blundering you will do in your life. Simply there is no question about this.
Right.
So, if one has to get… first of all, work towards cultivating this attention, first thing is you stop your sense of discriminatory looking, that you don't look at this person, oh, this is a man, this is a woman, this is a dog, this is this, this is that. Simply pay attention without any judgment. If you just pay attention to anything and everything without any judgment, you will see, if you just pay attention to an ant, there are phenomenal things. You're in Germany, who knows, if you pay enough attention to an ant, you may come up with the best automobile on the planet because I have not seen any machine moving with as much dexterity as an ant moves. But I think nobody has paid enough attention to an ant. So, attention, raising the bar of attention is more important than focus. For immediate purposes, if you need to focus on something, you can. But right now you can do a simple experiment. If you sit with your face slightly upturned like this and close your eyes, you will see naturally there'll be a focus between your eyebrows. But you can be conscious of many things, people around you, your breath, the sensations in your body. You can be conscious of everything and still be focused. So mental focus is a limited possibility, but the attention, enhancement of attention that ultimately delivers you to a space where you become conscious, or in other people's words, super conscious, is just conscious, but people think you're super conscious. Because of this, you grasp everything as it is. Right. The most important thing for this is that your mind is not functioning like a prism, distorting things and creating designs where they don't exist. Your mind has become like a plain mirror, it just shows everything just the way it is. Only when you see everything just the way it is, you will have the ability to handle everything sensibly. Otherwise, you make a mess out of many things.
Yes, sir.
And this is very important for an entrepreneur because you don't have a job.
Right. All right, hold on. So, that last part of what he said is really good, and that could help to get focused. Hold on, let's look at it.
To be so for real, last year was kind of a lot for me. I was just feeling kind of like burned out and stuck at some point.
I don't feel like seeing him on Sadhguru. I want to see somebody else. All right.
Have you ever been on your phone while eating dinner with your family when one of your parents looks at you and asks, "Why can't you put that phone down and just talk to us?" At the time, you probably thought something like, "Why can't they just leave me alone?" Or "Who cares?" This is what I used to think too, and I know many of you felt the same. But what if I told you that your parents may have actually been onto something? I believe this small and seemingly insignificant event would end up foreshadowing a big problem of the future. A future where nobody lives in the moment, choosing to instead live inside their heads, in their own worlds, that's governed by their own rules. Doing this makes everything feel dull. Smells, tastes, the feeling of the air on your skin. You seemingly lose the ability to perceive all these senses, making life as a whole just feel dull. Which leads me to the question, how do you actually live in the moment? Everyone wants to know this, but realistically, only 20% of people will be willing to watch the video all the way through. Therefore, gain the knowledge of how to actually live in the moment in just 2 steps and learn to live the life that's been in front of you this entire time. Before we get into the steps of how to actually live in the moment, I think it's really crucial that we first understand why living in the moment is so important and realize that it has real and serious benefits for us. First off, it can help reduce anxiety, as anxiety is literally worrying about the future, or the future consequences of past actions. By being in the present, we're naturally avoiding anxiety, as it's almost like we're in a completely different realm. Not only can living in the moment reduce anxiety, but it also lets us sit with our feelings of anxiety and ask questions as to why we feel this way. By sitting with our feelings free of judgment, we can find the root cause of these anxieties and fix them. Being present in the moment also helps us build better relationships. It makes it so we're actively and respectfully listening to our peers, which in turn is going to make you guys have a better relationship as you better understand each other, meaning you're going to build a stronger bond. Living in the moment also means better focus, as it strengthens our ability to filter out distractions, which then makes us more productive. Being present also makes you smarter emotionally, as you become more aware of your own feelings and how you're reacting to those feelings, allowing you to properly navigate through them. Now, personally, these benefits, for me at least, are more than enough reason to want to live in the moment. And the thing is, there's still a lot more benefits, like building stronger memories, reducing stress, having better self-appreciation, and so on. Hopefully, if you were on the fence about this whole living in the moment thing, I convinced you that it's absolutely worth it. And honestly, it's actually really easy to implement into your life, and it all starts with step 1. Leave the mind. The first and absolutely most common crippling thing that takes you right out of the moment is your phone. Now, why getting off your phone is so important was covered heavily in my last video, how to actually stop wasting time. So if you're interested in finding out more about this, please check out that video first and then return back to this video. Otherwise, I don't think I really need to explain this one that much, as everyone has taken out their phone at a time where they really didn't need to, like at the dinner table with family, when you're hanging out with your friends, and so on and so forth. Realistically, all of the bad things that you want to get out of your life are all probably forms of instant gratification. Whether that's drugs, video games, TV, etc. These are literally made to take you out of the present, usually numbing your feelings. So limiting or completely removing some of these is absolutely crucial if you want to live in the moment. Once we have left the mind, we can do step number 2, which is enter the present moment. We've talked about the benefits of living in the moment, but now comes the question of how do you actually enter the present moment? And the quick answer to that is meditation. Now, meditation is really only one term for it, as it goes by a lot of different names nowadays. You may have heard the term mindfulness or breathing exercises, and truthfully, it's not the only method of entering the present. It just so happens to be the one that I have the most experience with and enjoy the most. I've also heard of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is naming 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch or feel, 3 distinct sounds you hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Obviously, the goal of this is to bring yourself into the present moment, becoming aware of all your different senses. I encourage you to try all the different methods to see what works for you. But for now, I want to circle back into meditation. I think a lot of people have the wrong idea of meditation. They imagine the classic monks sitting with their legs crossed and their fingers in the OK position, saying Om, Om. What this really is only one of many different meditation techniques, all offering their own focuses and based off different belief systems. Now, meditation is definitely not just some spiritual, tree-hugging, hippy-dippy activity. A lot of meditation is actually heavily grounded in science. Now, I am in no way going to try and sit here and act like I have some type of PhD in science, because I absolutely do not. But I do trust a guy called Alak Kanogia, or as you probably know him, the Healthy Gamer. Now, I won't get into much detail about him besides highly recommending his content, which is more centered around the actual science of things like meditation, depression, anxiety, etc. He's an actual psychiatrist who graduated from Harvard University. He also at one point was training to become a monk, which is why he has such extensive knowledge on things like meditation. And he teaches the meditation while also showing you the science, which I find really fascinating, as the body is capable of doing some pretty incredible things if you know how to do it. One example of this is a breathing exercise where you breathe in through one nostril and then you breathe out the other nostril, and you basically do this in a circular motion. This breathing technique is proven to lower blood pressure, slow heart rate, make you feel calmer, and also helps bring you into the present moment. Moral of the story, meditation is pretty awesome, and I highly recommend that you do some research on the different methods of meditation and give them a try. Hopefully at some point I'll be able to make a video about the different methods of meditation, but this is going to be something I would do in the future as my knowledge on meditation still has a long way to go. Some other examples of habits we may want to integrate into our lives are things like yoga, journaling, spending more time in nature, and doing creative activities. Now, I'll be honest, I actually haven't tried yoga yet, but hopefully it's something I'll try soon. I also don't personally do journaling, but I do something similar, which is when I'm having troubles with things like anxiety, whether it's me struggling with not knowing what I want to do with my life, or whatever else it may be. I like to write down on a piece of paper how I feel, and sometimes this is in the form of a mind map, and work my way through these tough to navigate emotions. Doing this makes it a lot easier to find a fix, as I can see the root cause of the problem. And from the root cause, I can see all the problems that it's causing. I also make an effort to go out in nature as much as I can, usually bugging my girlfriend to do something spontaneous. Lastly, and probably the one I struggle with the most, is doing creative activities. Now, technically, my video/blog, also have a blog link in the description, are definitely creative, whether it's writing, video editing, marketing, but outside of work-related things, I tend to struggle to be creative. I've never been into playing instruments, drawing, painting, arts and crafts, etc. I always preferred sports, but I do think it would be fun to try and learn an instrument at some point in my life. I've just never really been given the opportunity, and I honestly can't really afford one anymore. Also in the description, I have a Ko-fi page where you can go to support me. It's kind of like Patreon where I have tiers and memberships and things like that, or you could just leave a donation. But I definitely do like music, so I do think this would be very enjoyable. These activities are the best, as they literally require you to be in the moment, being creative and having fun. Well, kinda requires you to, as this brings me to a bit of an inner debate I have with myself. You see, my girlfriend sometimes draws, and when she draws, she listens to YouTube videos. In fact, she tends to listen to YouTube videos when she pretty much does anything. But I myself question if when you lean into these YouTube videos, if you're taking away from the actual experience of what you're doing, and therefore losing some of the benefits. This is something where I definitely want to know what your guys' opinions are, and please do leave them down below in the comment section, as I genuinely don't know. Well, I truly do hope that I managed to influence some of you into giving the present moment a try. I know it can be tough living in the moment, as life can often be really hard, but I think it's worth it, so that when we have our good moments, we get to experience them fully 100%. If you enjoyed this video, I think you will love my last video on how to actually stop.
Alright, I'm gonna pick one more. That's off. Hold on, y'all. Trying to win this game. We gonna watch just a piece of Sadhguru.
If you go deep when the whole
This one. Alright. Namaskaram Sadhguru. I've heard you say that living on the edge is important. How does a person whose entire life is built on creating safety and security learn to live on the edge? Ooh, I like that question.
Must be close to the border. Someday if you want to, if you intend to cross the border, you must be close to the border, isn't it? If you're deep inside, you may not cross. That's all I said. I said be on the edge if you want to cross over. So living on the edge, in many ways, essentially that is the fundamental thing, that you are not stuck where you are. Where you are is a reality, you can't deny that. But you try to be on the edge so that when the opportunity comes, you jump. Easy, isn't it? Yes? If you're stuck deep inside, you cannot jump even if you wish. So, edge. So living on the edge, essentially, in normal parlance, it would mean live dangerously. What is danger? Is just a question of what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, isn't it? So if you want to enhance your capability, particularly with the inner nature, if you're not on the edge, would you push your capability? No, you would remain stagnant. So that's why I'm saying, you must always live on the edge when it comes to within you. You don't have to risk your physical body on the road. That's not the point. On the highway 8, you don't have to take a risk. A truck is coming, you want to run in between and see. just to live on the edge. That's a foolish way of living on the edge. But in the inner nature, you live on the edge because there is really no danger. Danger is a misconception. If you fall on the street, you will die, which is a danger. If whatever you believe in right now, let's say, you believe in something, let us say, an ideology or a belief system or something. So if you live on the edge with this belief system, constantly trying to cross the border within yourself, whatever happens, what is going to happen to you? I'm asking, is your life at risk? No. What is at risk is, everything that you thought that you are may collapse.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah, you're right.
Your notion should go if reality has to shine, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't have to invent reality. If you invent it, it's not reality, isn't it? See, this is not hard work. This is not hard work because you don't have to create anything. It's there.
Yes, sir.
You are inventing a lot of notions. If you stop inventing your notions, you should simply learn to sit here quietly. All your notions are gone, isn't it? So you don't have to create anything, you just have to stop creating. I'm just saying, just rest.
Right.
That's all spirituality is. If you just rest, if you really rest, you're there. But you won't rest. You're chugging along all the time as if you're going somewhere. I'm telling you, you're not going anywhere, you're jogging on the spot. Jogging on the spot may be good for the physical body because it gives exercise, but internal jogging on the spot is not doing anything. It's just waste of time and waste of life. I'm saying just rest. Learn to just be still. All your ills will go away.
I don't care.
This is Amazon's new money-making app. Let me show you how it works. That app is called Audible. It's created by Amazon and it is
Months from today, there will be two kinds of businesses, the quick and the dead. The difference will be their answer to one urgent question. Are you ready to do business in an ongoing pandemic? Every leader in the world must rapidly prepare their team or organization to do business during the danger.
We trying to get something. There you go.
Have you ever wondered why your work environment feels so stressful? Have you come home from a meeting feeling like no one's understanding you or everyone's out to get you? Or does your home feel like there's a lot of tension? Maybe you want your teenager to feel comfortable talking with you, but it's just not working. If any of these are the case for you, then you might have a problem with emotional safety. Creating an environment of emotional safety is essential for a productive workplace, a healthy home, and positive relationships. If you feel tense or like you're being judged all the time, or if you create an environment where people don't feel listened to or understood, then your environment is not emotionally safe. Today we're going to talk about a few ways you can increase emotional safety in your environment. Emotional safety is when people feel appreciated, valued, worthwhile, when they feel like they can trust their environment to be fair and consistent and kind. In an emotionally safe environment, people feel like they can share their vulnerable and sensitive feelings without being mocked, blamed, or judged. Feedback and correction can be given in a calm, safe, and loving manner. People take accountability for their own actions without blame or defensiveness. Differences of opinion can be shared and also accepted. People don't feel like they have to change to be okay. In emotionally safe environments, there's a feeling of honesty, and there's a feeling of clear and safe expectations. Some of the indicators of an emotionally safe environment are you feel comfortable around each other. People don't feel like they're going to be attacked. There tends to be open and clear communication. When someone messes up, repairs are made quickly. You'll see an increase in vulnerability and openness, where people are sharing their really sensitive feelings. And people feel connected. Now, if you'd like to create an environment like this, you have to focus 95% of your effort on changing yourself, because we are responsible for our environment and what we put out there and what we allow to come into our environment. So most of your effort should be focusing on yourself. I say this because when I talk about emotional safety, I get a lot of people say, oh yeah, the people around me, they're so dangerous, they're so mean, they're so attacking, they're so judgmental, da-da-da-da-da. And they don't realize that by saying that and thinking that, they're actually creating an emotionally unsafe environment. Or perhaps the people around them actually are attacking and dangerous, but they aren't taking any steps to create safety for themselves by setting healthy boundaries. So when it comes to emotional safety, focus on yourself. What can you do to create this? The opposite of emotional safety is judgment, blame, attacking. There's a lot of closed off emotions. So people use anger instead of sadness, or they express frustration instead of, expressing that they feel discouraged. Some other indicators of an emotionally unsafe environment is people are constantly giving advice instead of listening, or constantly judging someone else or trying to change them if they don't agree with them. In emotionally unsafe environments, people feel a sense of conditional love. That means, well, I'll love you if you change, or I'll love you when you're good, but not when you're bad. And that creates this constant sense of insecurity. Now, on the receiving end of that, people who are constantly feeling like they aren't good enough or questioning their own self-worth are going to project that on other people. So that's something that needs to be worked on in order to create a feeling of emotional safety. Other indicators of an emotionally unsafe environment are yelling, threatening, or obviously any physical violence. That creates a completely unsafe environment. Defensiveness, blame, using voice tone or a lot of attitude also contribute to a negative environment, as do passive-aggressive statements. One of the most common indicators of an emotionally unsafe environment are using things like personal attacks. So instead of saying, I don't like it when you forget to do your chore, you say, you are the laziest person in the world. Attacking their character, just calling them a lazy SOB. The other thing that's a big indicator of emotionally unsafe environments is when the rules or boundaries or standards are constantly changing, people don't know what to expect, or when there's a feeling of walking on eggshells, like if you say the wrong thing, that person's going to blow up, or if you do the wrong thing, that person's going to be offended. So those are all indicators of emotionally unsafe environments. We can actively create an environment of emotional safety by working on ourselves. We create an environment of love where we aren't trying to change other people, but rather we put our focus on trying to understand them and listen to them. When the time comes for correction, we are consistent, firm, clear, and fair. We're honest with people, and we share our vulnerable emotions like sadness or hurt instead of only expressing secondary emotions like frustration and anger. We create internal safety by building ourselves up and, standing unoffended, not taking offense by what other people say. We also got to make sure never to use the word emotional safety as a way to badger or try and change someone else. So going up to someone and saying, you're creating an emotionally unsafe environment is not going to be helpful. If the environment is actually unsafe, then what we need to do is set boundaries around other people, ask for change, invite change, and when necessary, leave. To create emotional safety, we always have to focus on what's within our own realm of control. So we focus on changing ourselves instead of trying to change other people. If we're in an emotionally unsafe environment, we're less likely to create change by asking someone else to change than we are by setting clear, consistent, and firm boundaries. It is fair to ask other people to change, to make requests, and to tell them how they're affecting you. But it's rarely fair or helpful to expect that someone change or to demand that they change in order for you to accept them. This creates a feeling of powerlessness in yourself because you're demanding that someone else change in order for you to feel okay. We can take back our emotional safety by focusing on our own actions and creating clear, firm, and consistent boundaries with others. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful, and take care.
I like how she got up out of there. Yeah, it was helpful, and take care. Alright, so the reason I wanted to touch on those two specific topics is just because living on the edge or living in the moment, I don't know why I say edge. I think it was because of the title that we ran into earlier. But living in the moment is focusing, and just depends on what your moment is and what you're focusing on, like he said earlier, and then creating that form of safety for yourself, whether it be emotional safety, financial safety, makes you focus. Like, you gotta focus to do that sometimes, and sometimes it's just there and you feel safe, or you feel in the moment, but most of the time you gotta kind of create that for yourself. Well, that forces you to focus, so you don't want to be in a mode where you just up in the air like, oh man, I don't know what's going on at any given moment. Sometimes it's healthy for you to be like that, in a sense of you want to find what you're aware of or where you're at and what you should be focused on, especially when starting projects. Like, if you starting a project, you kind of know what you want to do but not how to do it. A good way to be is kind of just aware of everything. Like, hey, I know I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, and then you start to focus it down. All right, let's go further. Focusing. Let's see what's up in the future. Let's see what they got to say. I put focusing on the future. Let's see what my man say.
As we go into the new year, we have to push aside every personal limitation. And one of the greatest personal limitations is regret. As we look back over our lives and we see the opportunities that we missed, the mistakes that we made, it can be easy to meditate there. And instead of reflecting and making proper correction, we end up drowning ourselves in who we are not. And so we create this deep sense of inadequacy, and inadequacy is the activation power for personal limitations. And so the way that you activate personal limitations is simply by what you think on, what you focus on. And so if you're meditating on what you haven't done, or what you don't think you can do, or what you don't think is available to you because of what you missed, you're going to miss out on the opportunities that God is sending your way. So let go of regret so you can hold on to the future.
Yes, sir. All right, let's watch this real quick for 1 second.
The Greeks had the maxim, know thyself. How do we come to know ourselves in terms of our personalities and, more importantly, potential? Well, one of the first ways to come to know yourself is to understand that you don't. You know, you can learn to kind of watch yourself like you're watching a stranger, but you have to adopt a position. It's a position of radical humility, I would say. Humility in two senses. So one sense would be the humility of recognizing your ignorance. So you have to understand that you don't know who you are. And that's not easy to understand because you think you know. But then, you remember you can't control yourself very well. You're not very disciplined. You're full of flaws. Maybe you don't know yourself as well as you think. But it's hard to get low enough to understand how deeply it is the case that you are ignorant about who you are. Now, there's an upside to that too, which also is that you're also ignorant about who you could be. And so the discovery of that, is some reward for the horror of determining who you actually are. And then I would say, well, then you watch yourself. You watch yourself like you're watching a stranger. You watch what you say and you listen. And you think, well, what sort of person would say that? And how am I reacting emotionally when I'm communicating in that manner? Is that making me feel stronger or weaker? Is it filling me with shame? Is it helping my confidence? Am I laying out a lie? Am I deceiving myself and other people? Am I adopting this personality at parties that is designed to impress and to amuse, and it comes across as nothing but self-centered narcissism? What are my dark fantasies? What are my aggressive fantasies? What is it that I'm willing to do? What am I interested in so that I'll spontaneously pursue it? What do I procrastinate about and why? What am I unwilling to do? What do I think is good? What do I congratulate myself for accomplishing? And what do I berate myself for failing to confront and to implement? Those are all incredibly complicated questions, and you don't know the answers to them. So that's a start. And then in terms of potential, well, you'll discover a little bit more about your potential as you discover who you are, especially the darker parts of yourself, because then you discover your potential for mayhem. There's some real utility in that. It's actually something that strengthens you, because the first thing that a realization like that can in fact produce is the ambition to incorporate that dangerousness into a higher order personality. And that can make you implacable. That can make you someone who can say no when you need to say no. That can make you someone who won't avoid necessary conflict. And so that's unbelievably useful. And so that's one of the potentials that you might discover. The other thing you do to discover your potential is to, you challenge yourself. It's like Rule 4 in my book, 12 Rules for Life, is compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to who someone else is today. And that's kind of a good way to start this. It's like, take a bit of a look at yourself and think about what's not so good that you could improve, that you should improve by your own standards, and that you would improve, and set yourself a little goal. Maybe you're not studying at all and you're at university. Or maybe you're at work and you've got this stack of paper there, and you haven't looked at that damn stack for like a month, and you know that you should be. And you're bothering yourself at night because you're avoiding that. You think, I've avoided that stack of paper completely for 1 month. I'm quite a coward when it comes to whatever snakes might be hidden in that stack of paper. How about tomorrow I just put that stack of paper in front of me on my desk and I glance through it for 15 seconds. See if I can do that. It's like, you set yourself a goal of improvement. It's a humble goal, because really, are you such a coward that the best that you can bloody well manage after a month of avoidance is 15 seconds of exposure to a stack of paper? It could easily be. You've been avoiding it, so you're obviously afraid of it, and so the situation could be that dismal and dire. And you might think, geez, it's no balm to my ego. It's not fostering the strength of my ego to recognize in myself someone who could only withstand 15 seconds of exposure to that thing I'm afraid of. And so that's a form of humility too. It's like there's things you could do to improve, and you know what they are. And there's small steps that you could take, that you might take, that would put you in that direction. And then the question is, are you big enough to take those small steps? Are you capable of grappling with the fact that you're fundamentally flawed to the point where you have to break things down into almost childlike steps in order to manage them? And the answer to that is, yeah, you are. And that's the lot of, I don't know if it's the lot of everyone. Most people have things they avoid, and they're afraid of. So I would say to some degree, it's the lot of everyone. People vary in the degree to which they've conquered that. And you do meet people from time to time who are extraordinarily disciplined. But most of the time they've got disciplined in exactly this manner. It's through slow incremental improvement. And then you challenge yourself. It's like, could I do this? That would be better. And you find out. And then you think, is there something slightly larger and more challenging that I could do? That would be better. And you try it and you find out. And as you try it and you find out, generally you get better at it, and you can take on larger and larger challenges. You take responsibility for yourself. That's part of standing up straight with your shoulders back. It's like, take on the world, man, but only at the level that you can manage. When you're ignorant and biased and deeply flawed and immature, it's where everyone starts. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but it doesn't mean that you can't wrestle with part of reality. Some part that's small enough so that you have a good shot at victory. And to put yourself together, the first steps towards that is to allow yourself to be a fool, right? It's because you don't know what you're doing. You have to admit that. And there's going to be a loss of ego or destruction of ego, arrogant ego that necessarily accompanies that. But you need the loss of that arrogant ego because it's precisely what's interfering with your movement forward. You know, it's part of the adversarial process, mythologically speaking, that stops moral progress. You're too proud of who you think you are to notice what you're like so that you could change properly. You don't want to sacrifice that part of yourself. It's probably associated with some delusion that helps you maintain a positive, although very fragile self-image, you know, in the absence of genuine effort. It's not to be recommended. You know yourself by watching and paying attention. It's watching like you're a snake. A snake watches like cold-bloodedly, with no emotional reaction, just to see what's there. It doesn't allow, symbolically speaking, doesn't allow what is wanted or desired to interfere with what is observed. So you watch yourself like that, as if you don't know who you are. Well, that's the beginning. And then you challenge yourself continually to see how far past yesterday you can push today and tomorrow, and to continually experiment with expanding the domains not only of your competence but of your ability to increase that competence. And the upper limit to that is proportional to the moral effort that you put into it. The more that's guided by the highest of all possible visions, right? The alliance with the highest of all possible conceivable good. And the more it's accompanied by truth in speech and action, the more you will develop your potential. And you also, I suppose, have to be willing to undertake that as an adventure, because it's a hell of a thing to bear that kind of responsibility. It takes a person out of the ordinary. It takes them out of themselves. And there's an alienation and an isolation that goes along with that, and a great sorrow, all of that together. But there's deep meaning to be had in it, and there isn't anything better that you can do. So that's the answer to that question.
My man's. We ain't gonna beat it down.
As we go into the new year.
I'll let him get some free points. I really don't think
big ideas.
Let me see. I don't think I can watch that one, so let me make sure. Nope. Alright. Let me scroll down.
Stop focusing on your future. Bro, I get it, okay? We all are seeking purpose in this life. We all trying to find our purpose. We all want to know what the...
Get that shit out of here. Hold on, I'm about to read that comment. I don't believe people don't know themselves. I believe they know exactly who they are and recognizing it immediately. I believe people don't understand what they are not. I like that. Very, very, very interesting. Let's see what my man's talking about too.
Future holds for us. We all want to know these things, but bro, we got to stop focusing on our future. Okay, we need to lay aside our future and be like, Lord, I'm giving it to you. Because at the end of the day, our future is in God's hands. Okay, I got two scriptures I want to read. All right, now the first, and they're both in the same chapter. And these two scriptures is scriptures that I need to start applying to my everyday life, because y'all, I'm not perfect. I don't come on these videos to tell y'all certain stuff to say, hey guys, I'm a perfect guy. Look, I don't focus on my future, bro. Every day I'm worried about my future. Okay, I'm 20. I'm 20 years old. I'm still growing mentally. I'm still growing emotionally. I'm still growing physically. And most definitely, I'm still growing spiritually. So I'm not coming to y'all saying, look, guys, I don't focus on my future. Yeah. No, bro, I focus on my future too. I make these videos to help all of us, whether you old or young. It don't matter.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
job,
but these two scriptures right here. So the first one is Jeremiah 1, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. I knew you before. This is the Lord. Okay, this is the Lord saying this. He gave this message to Jeremiah the prophet to tell the people. So this message right here is coming from the Lord. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations. Now look at that very first sentence. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. This is what I mean. God already knows us. God knows us more than we know ourselves. You think that you know yourself? Oh, trust me. God know you more than you know yourself. The second one is in the same book, Jeremiah 29, Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Now this one is the one that I need to truly study, and I need to honestly continue to tell myself this over and over again to remind myself of what the Lord is saying to me. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope.
Yes, sir.
To give me a future and a hope. Why the freak are we so worried about our future when the Lord is literally telling us, hey guys, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. I know the plans I have for you. I know why we're so worried about our future, because we see other people succeeding in life that is our age. And I say our age because I'm 20 and I don't know.
The one he's gonna read next is my favorite one.
How many other people in my age
Type
group
it in the chat. Type it in the chat.
Watching this video, but look at how many people are succeeding in life. At least we think they're succeeding.
Right.
But after watching that Cat Williams video, a lot of people are doing certain things to become successful. They're not getting their success from God. They're getting their success from the devil. Remind yourself of what the devil told Jesus when Jesus was in the desert, when Jesus was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. He said, I will give you all of this if you bow down to me. That's exactly what the devil doing to these celebrities. I will give you all of this if you bow down to me. And what they do, bow down to him because they want to succeed in life. They want their future to be something that, oh man, I manifested this, I did that. We need to stop worrying so much about the future and focus on God. God has our future in his hands. Now, I'm not telling you to go sit around and be a lazy servant, because God cannot bless a lazy servant. You know what I'm saying? God talk about laziness in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? A man who don't work, don't eat. So guess what? We need to work. We need to work towards our future, but this is how we need to do it. We need to first, we need to commit ourselves to the Lord. Father God, help us, or help me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just praying just for an individual right now. Okay, so you can say this prayer to yourself too. But Lord, help me to continue to commit myself to you, to seek you with all my heart, so that way I don't have to worry about my future, and I can put my future in your hands. Because when you're not committed to the Lord and you don't know who God is, of course, each and every
really helped us get through that time. Jeremiah 29:11.
every day you trying to go off your own strength, trying to be successful and trying to worry about your future. And that's why you're being so unsuccessful with your future, because you're so worried about.
I love when it resonate. Be like, bing, I felt that.
Your future, that you're not leaning into the one who created you. Imagine, and I'm talking to myself, imagine if someone created me, not my mother, but a creator of the creator, the creator of this whole entire creation. He created me also. And I'm sitting here so worried about my future when he literally states in his word that he knew me before he formed me in my mother's womb. He already know the mess up I was gonna have. He know everything that I was gonna do, because he already knew me. He knew I was gonna be a liar. He knew that I was gonna fall into homosexuality. He knew these things. But guess what? Because of his faithfulness, because of his grace, because of the way that God is, because of his mercy, he brought me out of all of that so I can give him the glory, so I can glorify him. He brought me out of all of that pain outside. He brought me out of all of that, so now I give him the glory. And now I can fully walk into the purpose he had for me. Because let me tell you something. The purpose that everybody have on this earth as believers in Christ is to spread the gospel. It's to spread the good news. That is our purpose, and that's what we need to do. But guess what? If you're looking for another future and you're looking for all these different things, then following Christ is not for you if you're trying to look for another future besides spreading the gospel. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not telling you that you need to be a pastor. Everyone is not called to that. I'm not telling you need to be a teacher, because your ministry is whatever God is calling you to. So you could be a hairstylist and be in ministry. What I mean is, I'm not saying you be a hairstylist and be on the stage. No, I mean you could be a hairstylist and be preaching the word to your clients. And every time you touch their head, they're blessed.
Yes, sir. Y'all hear that? That's how I'm getting y'all this word right here. You know what I'm saying? Feel me?
They're blessed. Because y'all don't know that it's witches out here. That once they touch your food, once they touch you, you're cursed. They can put curses on you if you're not filled with the Holy Spirit. But you could be a basketball player, and your ministry could be basketball. Every time you can go a triple double or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You go crazy in one game, and they interview you. This is your time to tell the whole world, follow Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
That's what I mean by whatever God placed you in. That is your ministry. We need to stop chasing so much after purpose and realize that God has our future in his hands. It don't matter. He has your future in his hands. I'm so worried about my future because I'm looking at the right now instead of looking at what he's doing to me right now to get me to where he want me at then. And what I mean by that is this: God is taking us through a season right now.
Okay.
He's taking me through a season of financial distress. But the reason why he's taking me through this is because, and I'm not going to say that he fully is taking, because I got myself in certain positions, in certain predicaments that I was never supposed to be in. But because I walked outside of the will of God, oh man, I'm going to touch on that too. Thank you, Holy Spirit. But God is taking me through a season right now where I'm going through this. So that way I know if he called me into ministry, if he called me to be a pastor, because a lot of people say, oh man, you should be a pastor. I'm not a pastor yet because God is still breaking me down as a man right now, as a man of God right now. He's still breaking me down so I can become what he want me to become. So if he want me to become a pastor, I need to know how to handle finances, because guess what? Being a pastor, that and people paying tithes and all that, I got to make sure I'm being responsible with everybody's tithes. I can't be going out saying, you know what? They giving me 10% of their check. I'm finna go ahead and get a Lamborghini. Because when you start seeing too much money, you start to get big-headed. I done seen a decent amount of money before, and I got big-headed. And what I'm finna say is not me bragging. These shoes that I got on the wall, those shoes in the back, I got shoes right here. All these different shoes, this room, the clothes I have. All that stuff came from me saying too much money. I got too big-headed. Oh, I'm finna go buy me these J's. Oh, I'm finna go buy me these Supreme shoes. Oh, I'm finna go buy me these new Pumas. Like all these different things, bro, is because I seen too much money. I got big-headed. I can't go into pastor and being a minister and I'm too big-headed with people finances. God is still working on that in my heart. God is still working on that in my heart. And this is another thing. When you're so focused on your future, sometimes you walk out of the will of God. Because you're so focused on what you want to do instead of what God wants you to do, you walk outside his will. So you walk outside the will of God, and now you wondering, oh God, why am I going through this? Why? Because you walked outside his will. You walked outside the will of God. The reason why we're going through what we're going through now is simply because Adam and Eve walked outside the will of God to eat the apple. So guess what? Now all sin fell into the world. We was never supposed to be going through what we're going through now. Babies was never supposed to be this hard to come out of your, you know what I'm saying, your womb. You know, men is not supposed to be, we're not supposed to be really working these 9 to 5s and clocking in and doing all like, no.
Clocking in. Yes, sir.
We still was going to work, but it was never going to be work, if you know what I mean. God was going to have us work, but it would never been to the point where we're in the freaking factory putting boxes on top of shelves and trying to get a paycheck and trying to, you know what I'm saying? Now we're going through these things. Now we're glorifying money to get what we want to get at, because we're not trusting in God. When you walk outside the will of God, certain things happen in your life that was never supposed to happen. So stop walking outside the will of God. Stop worrying about your future so much that you're walking outside the will of God. God has a purpose for you, bruh. Sis, he has a purpose for you. For I know the plans I have for you, plans that are for good. Plans that are for good and not for disaster. He has a plan for you. Just believe in that plan. Believe it. Trust it. And I'm talking to myself, y'all. I'm talking to myself. I'm not perfect. I'm not. I sit there and I worry about my future all the time, bro. I switched on my channel and I'm like, Lord, is this a good thing to do? I kept trying to do politics because I felt like, oh, I need to get the money. I need to get this. But the Lord already called me to preach his gospel, to start a podcast. This is what the Lord called me to do. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm done running away from the will of God because I'm tired of walking outside of his will. I done did it so much that I see it like, dang, bro, when am I going to learn my lesson?
Yes, sir.
Stop focusing so much on your future. Give it to God, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Give it to God. Give your future to God. Give your worries to God. Give everything that you're struggling with right now, give it to God. Give it to God.
Ooh, I got it.
This is what we need to do. And when I say God, because I don't know who watching this video. I don't know who watching this video. When I say God, I'm talking about Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
Because the reason why I said it like that, because a lot of people got different gods. You know, shout out to Nick Jones, because I watched one of his videos and he said that and I'm like, yo, that is crazy. That's actually true. When people mention God, they talking about a whole God that they talk about a lowercase g. I'm talking about big G. Big G that wants you to give his words, that wants you to give your words to him. Big G that created this whole entire universe. Big G that brought you through things that you was never supposed to get through. Big G, not little G. Not the little statues, the gold statues, not them. I'm talking about Big G. You feel me? But yeah, man, give all your things to God. Stop focusing on your future. Stop. Let it off. You know what I'm saying? Ask God to show you what he has for you. Show you your purpose. Like I said, your purpose is to spread the word of God. But your spreading the word of God could be in whatever he calls you to do. So if you a good football player and you go into the NFL, now you can be in the NFL and give him the glory. Show purpose. So follow the will of God and ask the Lord to show you what it is that he wants you to do. He wanted me to spread the gospel, but this is what he wants me to do it at, on a platform, on a YouTube platform, on Instagram, TikTok, on social media. I'm a content creator.
So we're going to stop right there and move forward. I typed in focusing on God. Let's see what's up. Let's see who. Oh, y'all going back over them? Let's see what
I saw war. I saw bombing. I saw.
How do you go all in for God this coming year? Maybe this year you've felt like you've only been halfway in. There's been some areas of your life that you've let slip, some areas of sin, some temptation that have taken hold of you, and you feel far from God. You feel like, okay, now it's time. I need to hunker down and I need to do these things, or I need to implement these strategies, or I need to cut out these things in my life in order that I can go all in for God in 2025. If you are there, I'm with you. It's that mentality that gets us excited that, hey, okay, I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to turn my faith around. I'm going to turn my relationship with God around. I see these areas of my life that I don't want anymore. I want this to be different. I want my relationship to the Bible and to prayer and to God in general to be different. Going all in for God is not about putting on a new sermon every day or signing on to read the Bible in a year. All those things are good things to serve at your church, to cut out a sin or temptation that seems to have taken a hold of you. All those things are good, obviously. The mentality of just trying to clean your life up or get things in order is a fine one. but it's really not sustainable. And I think about the disciples, okay? Think about the disciples. What did the disciples do when they were called by Jesus? Did they first clean up their life and fix everything that they had broken and everything that they had screwed up, and then they followed Jesus? No. They picked up their stuff and they followed him. They followed him. And through that process of following him, they became like him. And as they became like him, they began to do as he did. For the disciples, it wasn't about reforming their life or getting their things in order that they could be ready to walk with Jesus. It was that through walking with Jesus, through being with God, their life was transformed, and therefore their actions and their behaviors and the way they conducted their life was transformed. So this is my encouragement to you as you enter 2025. That it wouldn't be about, okay, let me try to pray more, or let me try to read the Bible more, or let me try to, here's what I want you to have in your mind. Repeat this to yourself. Be with God. Be with God. We know God is omnipresent. We know God is with us all the time, but how often are you aware of it? How often do you act like it? If I'm aware of God's presence and I'm intentionally putting my mind, my heart into, okay, God is with me. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm praying without ceasing, as the Bible calls me to. It's not, okay, I'm gonna try to hunker down and pray for 30 minutes. And no, be with God in every moment of every day. Now it's not, let me pick up my phone because I need this hit of dopamine. It's, how can I be with God in this moment? And I know God's with me, but how can I allow my heart to be with him? So I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate on what I'm reading. I want to be with God. And so God his words are in the scripture. So I'm going to focus on, okay, how can I incorporate more scripture into my life? Not just the quantity of what I'm reading, as we often kind of value, but also the quality in terms of what am I meditating on? Even if it's a small piece, how can I meditate on this? How can I pray through this throughout my day? This is what it means to be with God. Think about this. If I wanted to get closer to my wife, okay, I could create a big to-do list of all the different things and strategies that I need to do. Okay, I should spend some time with her in the morning, and maybe we should have lunch together, and maybe I should be more intentional about asking her specific questions, and maybe I should read her text too, so then we can connect on that. It's like, all those are good things, right? But if I'm driven to do those things because of this to-do list that I have, that I've created, ultimately, man, to-do lists, they're not good motivators. I'm going to be like, well, you know what? Maybe this isn't as important, and this isn't as important. But here's the thing. If I truly care, and this is the difference here, if I truly care about knowing my wife and being with her and growing with her, then I'm going to change those things in my life just naturally. I'm going to decide, oh, you know, I'm going to spend some time with her in the morning, and I'm going to ask her questions that I didn't, have to create just because I have this to-do list of, okay, being close with my wife, but these things are flowing out of me. So how does this relate to God? Well, the crux of the issue is that, do we truly want to know God? Do we truly want to be with God? Do we truly love God? Now, here's the deal. There's a level to all of us. If you're a child of God, if you've turned to Christ in faith, that yeah, you do love God. But our love for God is so small sometimes. And our desire to know him is small compared to the things of this world, the entertainment that we're constantly faced with, the distractions that take hold of our heart. So where do we go? This would be the prayer that I would encourage you to pray as you enter the next year. Help me want to seek you more. You see this, it's like maybe we're at base level and we know that our desire for God and our love for God is pretty small and we want it to be bigger. Ask God. Draw near to him. Say, God, I want to know you. I want to desire you. Please take my desire for the things of this world and crush it. Make it so undesirable and ugly to me that I don't even want to turn to those distractions. That's where I want you to begin this year. Until next time,
all right,
God bless.
All right. How to focus.
This is like our last hope, and we may be their last hope. Every single minute, the conditions are changing. Or
let's see. Let's get some quick shorts in here real quick.
You got 24 hours in a day. 8 hours you sleep, right? And most people work a 9 to 5. So 8 hours you working. Okay, so we have 16 hours. We got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we'll be at 19. It take you an hour to get ready. So we had 20 hours. So I cannot spend, you guys cannot spend 4 hours going to, oh, they lying. Oh, I like this photo.
Right.
Oh, they faking. Sending photos to other people. Y'all got to get focused. I'm where I'm at because I'm focused. Tunnel vision. I'm focused on what I got to do. Y'all got to have a game plan. You got 20.
Is there advice you have for how to achieve focus on a task?
Yes. The best thing that anyone can do for their mental health, physical health, and performance in athletic or cognitive endeavors or creative endeavors is to make sure that you're getting enough quality sleep, enough of the time for you, and that's going to differ. Learn to dilate and contract your visual field consciously. This can be done if you practice it a little bit. And then, as I said before, it is very hard to get into a state of focus like a step function immediately, like snapping your fingers. What you can do is you can pick any object, but ideally an object at roughly the same distance, placed at roughly the same distance to which you're going to do that work, and stare at it. You're allowed to blink. And as your mind starts to drift every once in a while, to understand that's normal, but try and narrow your visual aperture and bring that into your visual field so that that's the most prominent thing. After doing that for 30 to 60 seconds, moving into the work that you're about to do, and really encourage yourself to do that.
Is there advice you have for how to achieve focus on a task?
Yes. The best thing that anyone can do for their mental health, physical health, and performance in athletic or cognitive endeavors or creative.
You first have to say what is the goal. And once you have what is the goal, you can then measure the various designs against that goal. Otherwise, you're saying, how are you evaluating why is one design better than another? What's your goal? It's got to be a goal. So the goal is get enough tonnage to Mars and enough people to make Mars self-sustaining as quickly as possible. So then you say, okay, let's back out the math on this. We're gonna need a lot of tonnage. Maybe
Mars and stuff. Hold on.
If you listen to something, you will see your mind will become focused and still. Hearing is not listening. Hearing unfortunately happens, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Hearing causes distress to the mind. Listening brings mind to stillness. Every moment
Hold on, I gotta run it back.
existence.
From now on,
Listen up.
If you listen to something, you will see your mind will become focused and still. Hearing is not listening. Hearing unfortunately happens, whether you like it or not. Hearing causes distress to the mind. Listening brings mind to stillness. Every moment of existence. Everything is speaking. People don't listen. People cannot listen because too much is happening, their own talk is happening in their head. And the danger of speaking on these terms is, now there are a lot of scatterbrains who suddenly hear coconut trees telling them something. That's a danger. So to listen does not mean to imagine. You can only be listening when you're not talking, isn't it?
from now on, whenever you bring on a new person, put them through this exercise. If they will not go through this exercise, do not waste a minute of your time with them, because they will never be successful if they won't follow your guidance. Here's the exercise. Take a clean sheet of paper and write down goals in today's date, and then write down 10 goals that you would like to accomplish in the next 12 months, and write them in the present tense. I earn, I achieve, I weigh, I drive such and such a car, I own. And then you take this list of 10 and you say, if I had a magic wand and I could wave this magic wand and I could have any one goal on my list within 24 hours, which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on my life? And usually this will jump out at you. Put a circle around that goal. And that's a goal you transfer to a clean sheet of paper, and then you follow the 7 steps. Write it down, set a deadline, make a list of everything you have to do to accomplish it, organize the list into a checklist, take action, and then do something every day. If you'll just do this, nothing can stop you but yourself. From now on, whenever you bring...
Focusing our visual attention on one particular point is incredibly effective for all.
You're not going to be successful in life if you become a slave of these technologies, a slave of these machines.
Now, the question is, how does one take back control and make these machines into your slaves instead of the other way around? There's basically 3 things that you can do. Strategy number 1 is to fight fire with fire. I've been using an extension for many years now called Newsfeed Eradicator, and it completely eliminates the newsfeed from my Facebook page. There are apps like this for Instagram, Twitter, and even YouTube. Strategy number 2 is to manipulate your physical environment. I found that working at home is near impossible because that's where I tend to relax. So what I've done instead is manipulate my physical environment by going outside and working in random cafes. And finally, strategy number 3, training yourself like a dog. And a great way to do this is to work for a bit and then purposely reward yourself for a short period of time. Sort of like how you would give a dog a treat after he does a trick.
You're not going to be successful in life if you become a slave of these technologies, a slave of...
So if you're struggling to stay focused while studying, then you might want to try a technique called adventure studying. This is a concept from computer science professor Cal Newport, and it's based on the idea that our brain craves novelty. Normally, studying in your room or in your library is pretty boring, but if you can find a way to incorporate a sense of adventure into your work, you'll automatically become more productive and you'll even enjoy the process a little bit more. For example, you might try taking a walk to the local coffee shop and working from there, or maybe even heading outdoors and studying under a tree or something. If you've got a free weekend coming up, take a road trip with friends to a cottage and study together from there. It's really all about finding ways to enjoy the journey, because when we're having fun, productivity takes care of itself. So
people ask me, Sadhguru, how do you operate with all these people? All kinds of horrible questions they're asking, they're doing this, they're doing that. I said, my life is not about them, it's about me. It's about how I am. It's about me. It doesn't matter how they are, that's their choice. But how I am is my choice, this is my way. No matter what they do, I'm like this. Because I have not given that freedom to anybody, that somebody can freak me, somebody can make me angry, somebody can make me happy, somebody can make me unhappy. These privileges I kept to myself. It's time you do that too. Because if somebody else can decide what can happen within you right now, isn't this the ultimate slavery?
Yes, it is.
People ask me,
there's a power flowing into your consciousness, and as that power flows into your consciousness, you can make anything you want out of it. When you start to get emotionally involved with an idea that is far beyond your present conditioning, everything goes a little nuts. Your nervous system is affected. It's what we call the terror barrier. What's causing the terror barrier? It's the paradigm. The paradigm is trying to hold you where you are. The paradigm is a multitude of habits that are fixed in the subconscious mind. And when you go to stir them up, everything goes crazy in your nervous system. It's worry, fear, anxiety. You've heard the saying, habits die hard? Well, you put 1,000,000 of them together and see what happens. Yet it's like a wall, and you bounce off that wall, and you'll go back and live in your conformed or, state of bondage and justify why you should stay there. Don't let that happen. There's a power.
The system how it is, the system how it was, it brings out some consequences. One of these consequences is very intensively the feeling of many people not being enough. And so if there is a place to change this, so how do I get rid of this hole?
There's a power.
The system how it is, the system how it was, constantly needs to be filled up. That is the main question. And there, I would say, it's the mental direction, it's the mental state. So where do I need to change it? It's in the mind. It's in the way how I look at the world. If you only look at the world based on the system that you have been raised up, of course you are then part of the system. The system how it is, the system how it was, it brings out some consequences.
I gotta see this. See some more.
Which one do you think most people spend more time focusing on, what they have or what's missing?
What's missing?
What do you focus more on?
What's missing?
The focus on what's missing is not something that comes with someone who is a failure. It comes very much with people who are very successful. And the question then becomes, if you're always focused on missing, how can you sustain happiness?
You're in a permanent place of lack.
That's correct. So scarcity is there. So you'll have drive to keep staying on the hamster wheel of achievement, but you're not going to see much fulfillment, not in a sustainable way. It's impossible. And it has nothing to do with you or me, right? It's just software. And we got a soul. We're not software. But you run your software so often, you start thinking your mind is you versus my mind is a tool that I'm going to use. Or if I don't use it, it's going to use me. So the majority of people do that. And by the way, during COVID, that number exploded because so many things were taken from people. They were constantly focused on what's missing, and that produces nothing but pain. Which one do you think most people spend more time focusing on, what they have or what's missing?
What's missing?
What do you focus more on?
What's missing?
The focus on what's missing is not something that comes with someone who is a failure. It comes very much with people who are very successful. And the question then becomes, if you're always focused on missing, how can you sustain happiness?
You're in a permanent place of lack.
That's correct. So scarcity is there. So you'll have drive to keep staying on the hamster wheel of achievement, but you're not going to see much fulfillment, not in a sustainable way. It's impossible. And it has nothing to do with you or me, right? It's just software. And we got a soul. We're not software, but you run your software so often, you start thinking your mind is you versus my mind is a tool that I'm going to use. Or if I don't use it, it's going to use me. So the majority of people do that. And by the way, during COVID, that number exploded because so many things were taken from people. They were constantly focused on what's missing, and that produces nothing but pain. Which one do you think most people spend?
How do you, or how can you, stay focused and disciplined for long periods of time?
Cut out the distractions. It's not about focus. It's the same thing, like it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. You know, it's not about these fancy, glamorous things. Focus, it's not about that. If you cut out all distraction, the only thing that's left is focus. So cut out all the noise, and I think for once you'll actually enjoy working.
How do you, or how can you?
If you use a method of learning and studying that is not engaging the right cognitive processes, then you may not feel that you're able to stay in that flow very long because your brain literally wants to escape a terrible experience. Whereas if you learn a really effective method, it's actually much easier to keep your brain in flow because it's naturally more engaged. So the task process makes a big difference to how long and how sustainably and consistently you can stay in flow. If you use a method of learning and study,
you can study for a half hour. It doesn't take a half-hour break to recharge your batteries. For most people, about 5 minutes. And this is where you go away, do something fun for 5 minutes. Call a friend, talk to a child, talk to a parent, a roommate. Enjoy some music. Do something you enjoy and actually say, this is my treat for having studied for 30 minutes effectively. Go back and here's what happens. Your efficiency is nearly 100%. Study a half hour, take a break. Study a half hour, study a half hour. Now, had she done that over a course of 6 hours, she would have got about 5.5 hours of serious studying and about a half hour of total break time. You can study for a half hour. It doesn't take a half-hour break to recharge your batteries. For most people, about 5 minutes. And this is where you go away, do something fun for 5 minutes. Call a friend, talk to a child, talk to a parent, a roommate. Enjoy some music. Do something you enjoy and actually say, this is my treat for having studied for 30 minutes effectively. Go back and here's what happens. Your efficiency is nearly 100%. Study a half hour, take a break. Study a half hour, study a half hour. Now, had she done that over a course of 6 hours, she would have got about 5.5 hours of serious studying and about a half hour of total break time.
Your attention, for example, is mediated by unconscious forces. And you know that perfectly well. And this is another Freudian observation. You know, if you're sitting down to study, for example, your conscious intent is to study. But you know perfectly well that all sorts of distraction fantasies are going to enter the theater of your imagination non-stop and annoyingly. And there isn't really a lot you can do about that except maybe wait it out. You know, so you'll be sitting there reading and your attention will flicker away. You'll think about, I don't know, maybe you want to watch Jane the Virgin on Netflix or something like that, or maybe it's time to have a peanut butter sandwich, or you should get the dust bunnies out from underneath the bed, or it's time to go outside and have a cigarette, or maybe it's time for a cup of coffee, or it's like all these subsystems in you that would like something aren't
very happy just to sit there while you read this thing that you're actually bored by. And so they pop up and try to take control of your perceptions and your actions nonstop. Your attention, for
one of my favorite lessons I learned was from a monk who said to me one day, I said to him, like, what do you think happiness is? And he said, I don't even talk about happiness. I think we're using the wrong word. He said, I look for peace. He said, I look for peace and contentment. And he said, sometimes in your life, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many of the things you have now were the things that you wished for a decade ago? Just pause and do that. And he said, what you will be shocked to discover is the person that you cannot bear to have a conversation with today, that is your spouse, you dreamed one day that they would look your way in a bar. You dreamed and you yearned for the day that they would text you back. That car that you now loathe because it has to be serviced and you have to change the tires on it. You have to... There was a time when you looked at it in a catalog and you went, that is my dream car. One of my favorite lessons I learned was from a monk who said to me one day, I said to him, like, what do you think happiness is? And he said, I don't even talk about happiness.
Gen Z employees are so out of control.
Looking at all the forms. And
Sorry, Owen, before you start, Catherine, can you actually turn your camera on? We sent out a memo last week. It's required for all team meetings going forward.
Sure, yep.
Catherine, where are you?
I like her.
That's fantastic.
Okay, I thought you were taking a work from home day, not a work from tanning bed
Just
day.
as good, bro.
We have a client in 15 minutes. Right, and I'll be tan for it. And I also have a wedding this weekend, and this is the only time I had to come
Okay,
here,
that's
so.
really not the company's problem. And
That's
honestly,
efficient.
Catherine, it's not a priority for you to be tan. It's a priority for you to have the deliverable done on time for the client.
Sounds like everything's good.
This should be
Yeah, the work's gonna be done. Who cares?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to report you again from HR. This is the 5th time you've done this.
Okay, well, I'm going to report you for attacking me.
Gen Z employees are so out of control.
This might just be the most iconic Jordan Peterson burn of all time.
Jordan Peterson, trending #1 on Twitter. Jordan Peterson, international bestseller. Jordan Peterson, right? This is what I'm saying to you. Why the rage, bruh? You're doing well, but you're a mean, mad white man. And you're gonna get us right. And I don't think Jordan Peterson is suffering from anything
How did
except
my
an
algorithm
exaggerated sense of entitlement and resentment, and his own privilege is invisible to him, and it's manifest with lethal intensity and ferocity right here on stage.
You know, it's conceivable that I am a mean man, but I would say the fact that race got dragged into that particular comment is a better exemplar of what the hell I think is wrong with the politically correct left than anything else that could have possibly happened.
This might just...
I don't know what. Do they want me to be dumb? Are they like, all right, yeah, eventually we're gonna show you dumb videos. Like we're not gonna just let you stay on the intelligent.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, I'm on my way to the studio and the sun is setting on an opportunity and I don't want you to miss out. I don't know if you've heard, but once a year I do a free event for 3 days for people from all over the world. Every moment of your life, you're answering 3 questions. Jot them down. 3 questions. First question is, what are you going to focus on? Right now, whatever you're focusing on affects you. If you're focusing on how you're going to use what you're going to learn this weekend, you could be focusing on the smell of your neighbor after all that jumping up and down. There's so many things you could focus on. We don't focus on everything. We focus on a small number of things, and that's what we experience in life. And focus, write down, equals feeling. Whatever you focus on, you're going to feel, even if it's not true. Have you ever had somebody tell you something and said, you think John is your friend? John's not your friend. He's talking behind your back. And you go, no, he's not. John's my friend. You misunderstood. But if 2 or 3 people tell you John's talking behind your back, you can get pretty pissed off because that's really just hurt, right? And then maybe you confront John. Who's ever done this? Confronted somebody about something you've done and then found out you were wrong and felt like an idiot. Who's ever had this happen before? Say aye. So the most powerful decision we make, and most of us don't make it consciously, is what are we going to focus on? Because you could be focusing right now on the blood rushing through your left ear or the touch of your clothes against your skin, but you don't. Most of what your brain does is distort, delete, and generalize to make life simple. And the problem is when you distort, delete, and generalize, you miss a lot of your life. So we want to kind of see if we can't get out of that. And what we got to do is figure out what the focus is. Let me give you 3 patterns of focus. You tell me which of these are you. And there's no right or wrong, and don't get personal about it, because if you don't like your answer, we can fix it. I want you to think like software. Here's my question. If I asked you, There are two things you could focus on, what you have or what's missing. Which one do you spend more time focusing on? Shout it out. You can hear in the room, you were not taking a poll, one is dominant. Raise your hand if you focus more on what's missing. Raise your hand nice and high. Keep your hands high and look around this room. It's about 95% of the room. Now I have a simple question for you. It's a really important question. It's a simple one, but an important one. Just think software, don't think personality. If your brain is constantly focusing on what's missing, how can you ever sustain happiness no matter how successful you become? It is impossible. Raise your hand if you see this. And it's dominant in this room because most of you, how many consider yourself to be an achiever? That's part of who you are as an identity. So as an achiever, looking for what's wrong for a moment so you can fix it can be a good thing. But what happens is it becomes a habit, and then it doesn't matter how much you achieve, you're not happy. You know how many multi-billionaires, you know how many entertainers with their Oscars or their Emmys or their Grammys that I work with, who you think would be the happiest people in the world? They're worth almost $1 billion, some of them. They're the best in the world at what they do. Everybody loves them, and they're miserable. I get the call, and why is it? It's because they keep focusing on what's missing no matter what they have. That's one pattern this weekend. If you only change that, would change your life. What happens when you focus on what you have? You feel alive. You feel no scarcity. You feel joy. How many of you have lots of things in your life that if you focused on it, you could feel grateful for, you could feel excited about? How many got lots of things like this now? Say I. But it doesn't exist unless you focus on it. And we all have patterns of focus. The second question is, what does this mean? Because the minute you focus on something, you have to give it a meaning. Is this the end or the beginning? Is God punishing me? That's why this problem happened? Is God challenging me? Or is this problem a gift from God? See, if you think it's the end of a relationship, are you going to feel the same way, act the same way as if you think it's the beginning of a relationship? Nope. Yes or no? No. The meaning changes the answer to the third question, which is, what am I going to do? Because meaning equals emotion. Whatever you give a meaning, you're going to have a feeling. If you think God is punishing you, you're going to have a very different feeling from that meaning than you think God is challenging you or this problem is a gift from God. How many follow here? Say I. People oftentimes have trouble in their relationship. You know why? In the beginning of a relationship, what's your focus? Are you trying to get them to give you things? Is that the primary focus? Yep. When you really love somebody, what will you do for them? Shout it out. What will you do?
Anything.
What will you do? What will you do? If someone says to you, would you take out the trash? Go take out the trash. What else can I do for you? In the beginning. But after 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 years, or 70 years, somewhere between 7 days and 70 years, they go, could you take out the trash? You go, what do I look like? You're janitor? You go, I don't know what it is. We used to have so much passion. What happened? If you do what you did in the beginning of the relationship, at the end of the relationship, there won't be in it. Because in the beginning, it wasn't a trade. You weren't measuring your meaning. You were focused on how to give. How many can relate to this here? Say, I.
Yes. Hey, so we got to tie it up for today. Right here, we're getting a little bit too deep before the end of the show because I only got a couple more minutes left. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. But more so, narrow down your focus so you can regain some of that energy that you're losing just by being distracted or, you know, having your focus in a bunch of different places that's not bringing you back your health, your peace of mind, your wealth, your abundance, anything like that. So I would play the rest of this, but I don't want to. We're going to go ahead and end it right here. Tech Tuesdays tomorrow. We'll be back. And I will have more to say about that tomorrow. So, this has been another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. It's good to be in here with y'all for another week. Y'all go check out that inauguration or something. Inauguration. Let me see if I can get on the algorithm for that. Inauguration. Anyway, I'm going to holler at y'all tomorrow. This is DGTA TV. Peace.
Everything on me? No. When I won Worlds, I bet everything on the Pokemon that I brought. My friends and I brought Pokemon that nobody else thought could win, but it was one of the best teams that I've ever used. And it was these overlooked Pokemon that gave us a major advantage into the most popular team in the tournament. Ever since then, I've been trying to build another team just as game-breaking, where battles are won before they even begin. But turns out, that's really hard, and in trying to recapture the magic, it's felt like I've
things. It's so easy to fall into the trap of self-doubt. Sometimes we doubt our abilities, question our worth, or feel like we're not good enough. But I'm here to tell you that you are capable of amazing things. You have unlimited potential inside of you, and the universe is waiting for you to tap into it. Your dreams are not too big for you. They were meant for you. Don't let negative thoughts or other people's opinions make you believe otherwise. The truth is, you have all the tools you need to succeed. Whether it's resilience, creativity, determination, or heart. You've already proven that you can face obstacles and rise above them. You've done it before, and you will do it again. Today, remind yourself of your strength, your skills, and your incredible potential. I am capable of amazing things, and I am ready to embrace them. 3. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions. Life can throw a lot of things our way. People might challenge us, situations might frustrate us, and unexpected events may try to pull us out of our center. But here's the truth. You are in control of your thoughts and emotions. No one else has the power to dictate how you feel unless you give them that power. And let me tell you, you are stronger than any external circumstance. Your thoughts are powerful. They can either lift you up or drag you down. Every morning, make the conscious decision to take control of your thoughts. Choose positivity, choose gratitude, and choose peace. You have the power to train your mind to focus on the good, even in the midst of challenges. The next time life tries to throw you off balance, remember that you have the choice to respond with calm, confidence, and clarity. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions, and I choose peace, positivity, and strength today. 4. I am deserving of success and happiness. So many of us struggle with feelings of unworthiness, especially when it comes to success and happiness. We've been taught to believe that we need to work endlessly, sacrifice everything, or earn our right to be happy and successful. But the truth is, you are deserving of success and happiness simply because you exist. Your worth is not dependent on what you accomplish or how others see you. You are inherently valuable, and your happiness is your birthright.